I was really contemplating just sort of inserting the pictures of these books, and I'm really wishing I had because I've got so many books off of my shelves right now. Hi everyone, my name's Chloe, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. Today's video is a BOOKMAS video. I am posting a new video every day up until Christmas Day, up till and including actually. So there are 25 new videos that have been posted or will be posted during the month of December for you guys to enjoy. And as we are on sort of the home stretch of this, we are doing a wrap up of things that I have done with my bookish life during the last year. And today's video is going to be all about series. I'm going to be looking at series that I've read in their entirety this year, series that I started previously but then completed this year, ones that I have continued this year but they're still not finished yet, ones that I started this year but I do plan on continuing, and then ones that I started this year and have absolutely no plans to ever pick up another book in the series. So we've got a range here. There's a fair amount of books to talk about. I seem to have made a big move from standalones to series this year. So I'm not going to ramble on for too much longer because otherwise I will not have time to talk about the books. I'm not going to give you a synopsis of too many of these because it'll make a very, very long video. But basically I broke it down into categories. So like I said, the first one is going to be series that I've read in their entirety this year. And we're going to start off from January to December in each category. The first one is actually the first book I read this year, and I read the entire series all in January. And that is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. So I read all three of these. I also read The Night of Cake and Puppets. I loved these. I now own multiple copies of each book, and not much else to say. It's one of my new all-time favourite series. I'm very glad that I did read the entire thing in one go. The next series that I read, I think I started in February and then finished it, I want to say about April time. It was whenever the third one came out, and that is The Brown Sisters trilogy by Talia Hibbert. This is just the first one because I can't physically get any more books off my shelves. But I did read this one. I read Danny Brown and I read Eve Brown, and I loved all three of them. And I'm really looking forward to picking up more books from Talia Hibbert later on down the line as well. And yeah, read all three of these, listened to the audiobook of all three. I now have the special editions as well. That's how much I love this series. And then the last series that I've read entirely this year, start to finish, is the book series I read in August, and I read in about a week, and it started me talking about this author a lot on this channel, so I'm not going to say too much else. But Nevernight, I read this one straight through. Nevernight, Dark Dawn, God's Grave, loved them all. Look forward to seeing this on my favourites list in a couple of days' time. We then move on to other book series I completed this year because either the last book came out or I just finally got around to reading the last book. So the first one on this list is one I actually don't own anymore because I've unhauled the entire series. That is American Royals Majesty. I believe this is the last book in the series. From what I've heard, it's just going to be a duology. I was not a fan of this book. If you want to see my full thoughts, watch my video that I put up a few days ago about my biggest disappointments of the year, because unfortunately this one is in there. But yeah, I unhauled it because I didn't like this book in particular, but I did finish it at least. The other two that I finished this year are happier reads, luckily. So the first one being Anywhere the Wind Blows by Rainbow Rowell. I believe I did feature this one in a reading blog previously, so if I can remember I will link that video somewhere. But I really enjoyed this. It was a concluding part in the trilogy, and I feel like it wrapped up the storyline really well. The first book in the series is a little bit more action-packed. It's got a magic school setting. The second book in the series is a little bit more like on a personal level, and a lot of it is about mental health. This book is kind of wrapping it all up, and it's got the action, but it's also got a lot of like healing in there as well, and I loved it. I really, really loved this one. And I know I said I wasn't going to give too many like thoughts or synopsis on these books, but I just have to sometimes. When I like a book, I have to talk about it. And then the other series that I finished this year is one that I finally finished because I'd actually had this one for a while. This book is not a new release at all, and I've had it since I read the first one, but I just never got around to finishing it. But I finally did, and it is Our Dark Duet by V. Schwab. Again, I have full thoughts on this one in a vlog previously and in a wrap-up. I only read this one last month, and I was weekly vlogging at that point. If I remember, I will link the video. But yes, again, very, very happy that I did finally finish this series because I adored it, and I gave both of them 5 stars. So the next group of books I have to talk about are when I've read a new companion book to a book that I've read previously. So you can call these series, but they're also kind of not series. You'll see what I mean when I talk about them. So the first one being Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. I read this one right at the beginning of the year. It was actually sort of in the middle of reading the Dosab trilogy. I think I broke off to read this one because this was one of my most anticipated reads, and I had it pre-ordered. And yeah, I'm including this because it is a prequel to The Hate U Give. It's not technically a series. You can sort of read them both separately, family, but they do very much tie in together, so I'm going to include it in this video. I also read Bookish and the Beast by Ashley Poston. So this is the third book in the Once Upon a Con series, I think it's called. So you've got Geekerella, The Princess and the Fangirl, and now you've got Bookish and the Beast as the Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's probably my least favourite of the series so far. I don't know if we're having more of them, which is why I've kind of put this section together, because it's ones where I'm not entirely sure if there will be more in this world. But yes, that was the next one I read. Then we also have Dear Justice by Nick Stone. So this one follows on from Dear Martin, which is a book I read a few years ago and really enjoyed, and I did really like this one as well. And I don't know if there's going to be more in this world, but I read this one this year. And then the last sort of companion book I read was The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. So this is the third book following on from The Kiss Quotient and The Bride Test, and all of these ones are adult romances, but the male characters in these are all sort of related. So you've got Michael in the first book, and then both the male characters in the second and the third book are Michael's cousins. I'm not sure if there's going to be any more because we've kind of run out of family members that we've been introduced to so far, but we could potentially go down a different route. But I really enjoyed this one, so if there are more, I will happily read them. Next up, we have series that I have continued this year where I read the first book in a previous year, but these are ones where the series still haven't finished yet, so there are still more books to come out, or I just have more books left to read. So the first one being Infinity Reaper by Adam Silvera. We won't talk about this one too much because I know many people dislike this series. I know many people will have already DNF'd this series. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. I like Adam Silvera's writing style in general. It is my least favourite of his books, but I will be carrying it on. There's only one more left and I just want to see how it ends. We then have got Saga. I'm now up to volume 4. I'd read volume 1 previously and I finally carried on with the series this year, so I've, like I said, read up to volume 4. I'm happy that they've now announced that they are coming back from hiatus, so I can read the rest of them without the worry of the massive long wait before volume 10 comes out, because I've heard the end of volume 9 is awful and people have had to finish on that for a while. I'm glad that I'm going to have a little bit of a shorter break, but I am also happy that I finally carried on with it because I'm really enjoying this series now. We then have got Vengeful by V. Schwab. So this is the second book in the Villains series. There is going to be a third one, but she hasn't wrote it yet. She needs to write Threads of Power first, which is the next one in the Dark Shade of Magic world. But I finally read this one after getting it when it was first released and just not getting around to reading it, but I finally read it. I'm now up to date. I'm just waiting for the Victorious title, subject to change, to be released whenever that date comes. And then of course I continued on with the Heartstopper series. This is volume 4. Volume 5 is now being written. I actually get the pages when Alice Oseman draws them because I'm part of her Patreon, so I am actually a little bit into volume 5 now, but whenever I get the bind up versions I reread that section of the story anyway, so I can read it as one continuous thing. So even though I'd already read this, I did still carry on with it technically. We then have one that I think there will still be more books in this series, but I'm not entirely sure, but I'm going to include it anyway. So that is Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. This is the 4th book in the Truly Devious series, but it's also a sort of standalone. So the first 3 is one story, so it is a trilogy. This one is now a new story, but it's still in the same series, so it is technically the 4th book in the series. I think that's sort of where it's going forward. It's going to be some standalone books still in the same series, but it did seem like there was going to be another one at the end of this, so I'm assuming that it's an ongoing series. That's why I'm including it. And then the last one in this group is one where I actually have the last book in the series. I just haven't got around to reading it yet because it only came out last month, but I should have read it. If not by the very end of this month, it should be early next year. That is The Aurora Cycle by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I reread Aurora Rising. I finally carried on with Aurora Burning, and I have Aurora's End ready to read. So the next section is the biggest section of books, and that is book series I have started and I do plan on continuing with. I didn't mean to start so many series this year, but it just happened. So yeah, we have a lot of books where I have started the series. Somewhere I've only read one book, somewhere I've read a few this year, and yeah, just going to talk you through them pretty much. So the first one we have is The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. This is a witch story all set in a sorority house. It was fun, so I will be carrying on with the series. It was not sort of like the best book I've ever read, but I'm happy to carry on with it. So I have actually already pre-ordered The Monarchs, I believe, which comes out like early next year. The next one, again, I actually do already have the second part, which I think is the last one, but I just haven't got around to reading it because it came out last month. But it is on my TBR for December, so this should actually be in the first section of books technically by the end of the year, because it will have been a series that I've read entirely this year, and that is A Song of Race and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. So I have got some Storms and Silence ready to read and will be getting onto it as soon as possible. It's just that BOOKMAS is taking up a lot of my time I would normally use for reading right now. Next up we have got the Wayward Children series by Shauna Maguire. I have these ones in ebook, so I don't have them physically to hold up, but I have so far read the first 2. So I've read Every Heart a Doorway and Down Among the Sticks and Bones, and I will be reading at least one more this month, but there are 6 I believe out so far, and there's a 7th coming out very soon. I should be on track not long after that one's released though, to be honest, because I am planning on carrying on with the series now. I'm really enjoying it. We also then have a new companion series that I started reading. I got the ARC for this one, and it is Rosaline Palmer Takes a Cake, and it's basically an adult romance that takes place on the set of a baking show, which is basically Great British Bake Off. It's fun and fluffy, but also has some really like good conversations about heavier topics in there as well. And there is a new one coming out next year. It's going to be, like I said, a companion series, so I think it's going to be like every book is a new season of the TV show. It's something about Paris Delacour, I think is the name of the main character. I can't remember the full title of it, but I am going to be carrying on with it when it comes out. I then have got one where I technically have finished the series, but also I haven't because it's part of a much bigger series, so I'm going to include it in this grouping instead, because Realm of the Eldlings has 16 books and I am nowhere near finished, but I did finish Assassin's Apprentice and the entire Farseer trilogy. I'm now about to read Mad Ship, literally like in about 2 days time after filming this video. It's Saturday at the minute and I'm starting it on Monday. Definitely carrying on with this series. We then have another one where I've just got one book left to read and I just haven't got around to it yet because my TBR hasn't allowed me to fit it on, but that is the David Bad trilogy. I am up to Kingdom of Copper. I have got Empire of Gold left to read. I know I keep saying it, but it will be like priority towards the beginning of next year, because otherwise I will forget what's happened in this one, and I think that's just going to affect my reading experience if I do that, so I do need to carry on with it ASAP. The next few are ones that I can't carry on with yet because the sequels just aren't out yet. So the first one being Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. You don't need to hear me talk about this one again. It's one of my favourite books of the year. As soon as the sequel comes out, I will have it in my hands and I will be reading it. I've got the Waterstones edition and the Illumicrate version of the first one, but I can really see me trying to get many copies of the second one when it eventually comes out. I have then got Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. Look at me actually wanting to carry on with the middle grade series. I don't read a lot of middle grade, so that's a good thing. But yeah, I will be reading the second one. I think it's called Amari and the Great Game. I haven't pre-ordered it because it's coming out in hardback first, and I didn't get this until the paperback came out, but as soon as the paperback's released I will be getting it. And then we have got Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. So this is in the same world as Caraval, but it is a new series in and of itself. And actually, as of filming this today, Stephanie Garber is hinting at revealing something about the book on her Instagram stories in 5 days time, and I think it's supposed to be the release date, but if you go on the Waterstones website they've already got it listed, so I'm pretty sure I know when the sequel to this one is coming out. I'm pretty sure it's next September, which is great because I'm glad there isn't a big wait. I'm glad it's only a year, so we'll be carrying on with this one as soon as the second one comes out. Do need to pre-order it because I need the first printing because they always have fun things underneath the covers. We then have got Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. Again, I actually own the second one in this series, I just haven't had a chance to pick it up yet, but will do soon. There is going to be a third one. I don't know if there's any more after that. I get a feeling it is just a trilogy, but I have got Flashfire ready to read, and hopefully I'll like that one and I'll want to finish the series when that one comes out next year, I think. We then have one that actually I got interrupted filming this video because the concluding part of the trilogy just arrived at my door. So that is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha and Ian. I finally got around to reading this because I've owned this one since it first came out. I had the second one ready to read, and like I said, the third one literally just showed up at my door, so I will be carrying on with this series because I kind of have no reason not to now. Then we've got a new graphic novel series that I started. I can technically carry on reading this already because it is a webcomic as well and I could just access those, but I really liked the bind up, so I've already pre-ordered the second volume of Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe. This is a Hades and Persephone's retelling, and the art style in it is just absolutely gorgeous, so yes, I will be carrying on with this one. And then we have got one where, again, I have the second part, but I literally just got it because it came out in November. That seems to be a running theme. Everything came out in November, so I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But we've got These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I just read the first one about 2 weeks ago. I will be reading Our Violent Ends because it is a duology. It is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. So we are literally halfway through the play at the minute, so I need to finish it off to see what kind of twists they happen. Are they both going to die? I don't know yet. We will see. And then the last one in this group is actually one that I am currently reading. I'm literally like, well, you can see my bookmark. I think I'm a little bit further than that now. But yeah, Bearing the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I wasn't sure if I was liking this at the beginning. It took me a little bit to get into it, but then in the last sort of 100 pages, I really started to enjoy it. So I do think I will be carrying on with it. So I thought I would include it in this video, seeing as I've just made that decision this morning. So that is all of the ones that I will be carrying on with. We're going to end this video on a slightly more negative note. Well, actually, we're going to go first onto one where I'm not entirely sure. So this is one that I read the first one this year. I'm keeping it at the minute, but I'm not sure if I'm going to unhaul it or not because I don't know if I want to carry on with the second one, to be honest. I'm still undecided, but that is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. I didn't hate it, I didn't love it either, I just don't know if it's what I want it to be. It was very historical with a little hint of fantasy, and I feel like it needed to either lean more into the fantasy or not have it at all, and it just kind of confused me a little bit. But we'll see. I might pick up the sequel. I'm still debating this one at the minute. And then the last section is the ones that, I mean, I can't even hold them up for you because I've already unhauled them because I am not carrying on with these series. Again, if you want to see my thoughts on these, the majority of them are in my disappointments video. So the first one being Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I've spoke about why I don't like this one in a few videos now, but it's not for me at all. So I will not be carrying on with this. I then read A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. I got this one in an Illumicrate box and I did read it straight away. It was okay. I think I gave it like 3 stars, but it's just not one that I see myself reaching for the sequel, so there's no point in me keeping it really. We then have Truth Witch and also Wind Witch by Susan Dennard, because they're the 2 that I read. I got really confused with this. The world building was not great and I couldn't keep up, so I've just decided to call it quits and will not be carrying on with this series. I've unhauled the first 2. And then the last one being Witches Steeped in Gold by Shannon Smart. I wanted to love this book, but again, I just couldn't get on with the way the world building was done. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't for me. So again, I've unhauled this one and unfortunately will not be carrying on with the series. Right, so that was a little bit of a downer at the end, but the good thing is the biggest section was book series that I started and do want to carry on with. So, you know, I'm finding some good series. It just happened to be that I put the ones that I didn't like so much right at the end, so it made it a little bit miserable. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below, and I will see you guys tomorrow with a new video. Bye.